Well, hi everyone. My name is Gary Newton, and yes, I am a polio survivor. When I was first asked to um, do this talk today, which originally was going to be face to face in person, as it were, I said, "Well, what do you want me to talk about?" And they said, "Well, you could just tell them about your lived experience with polio." And I thought, well, okay, we could do that, but it's kind of probably a bit boring, insofar as that. Uh, all polio survivors, or all of us, were born at some point. From there, it usually within the first 5 years, but not always, and not always children, of course. Um, we found polio, or polio found us in the first 5 years of life. In my situation, I was 15 months old. I'd been walking from the age of 9 months, but at 15 months, was dealt a fairly significant disability as a result of polio, and from then on, of course, I went through much of the same things that most polio survivors experience, and that is a period of hospitalisation. For me, it was like 32 days in complete isolation in a Fairfield Infectious Diseases Hospital. Then a period of rehabilitation and then getting on with life. So, um, and of course, we've all taken different paths, and then as we've aged, we discover that wonderful thing that's crept back into our life, polio and the late effects of polio. So um, I won't talk so much about me if because I'm not overly comfortable in doing that, to be honest. But I would like to talk to you about my passion to see polio gone from the world, the fact that I am not only a polio survivor but a Rotarian, and I I would like to sort of run through some of the things that Rotary and its partners are doing to help eradicate polio from the world. As we know, World Polio Day is coming up on the 24th of October. It's been a big part of Rotary. But what is Rotary? For a lot of people, of course, they're not too sure. It might be a sausage sizzle somewhere. But in fact, Rotary is the world's largest service organisation. It has over about 1.4 million members in something like 35,000 clubs in an awful lot of countries around the world. And their motto is service above self. But the big thing from my point of view, from a polio survivor's point of view, is that they are working and have been working for many, many years now to have polio eradicated from the world. The Polio Eradication Initiative is Rotary's #1 global project, and it's supported by these partners, the World Health Organization, UNICEF, Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, national governments, of course, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who have got a special deal that goes for every dollar that Rotary raises, the Gates Foundation give a further $2 to help support the eradication initiative. Not so very long ago, Bill Gates spoke to Rotarians about the effort, and I thought it might be interesting to hear this particular message from Bill Gates today.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me to share a few words today. And most importantly, thank you for your incredible partnership in the fight to eradicate polio. A century ago, around the same time Rotary was starting to grow into the global institution it is today, polio was one of the most feared diseases in the world. It bankrupted families, shut down entire cities, and put the President of the United States in a wheelchair. Today, we're close to ending it for good. When Rotary led the way to create the Global Polio Eradication Initiative in 1988, wild polio paralyzed 350,000 children every year. In 2023, that number was down to 12. More than 2.5 billion children have received polio vaccines worldwide, and at least 20 million of them who would have otherwise been paralyzed never had to experience the disease. The world has eradicated polio in hundreds of countries. In fact, 2024 marks the 10-year anniversary of a polio-free India, once considered to be the most challenging country to get polio cases to zero. So the finishing line is within sight, but crossing it won't be easy. Violent conflict, climate disasters, and a global pandemic disrupted health systems around the world. We continue to see cases in Afghanistan and Pakistan, the only two countries where wild polio is still endemic. And unfortunately, we're still seeing variant polio cases in countries in Africa where the virus was previously eliminated. So, the tough fact is, as long as polio exists anywhere, it's a threat to spread back everywhere. This is our best chance to finish the job. And so these next 2 years are absolutely critical. To aid our efforts, we have fantastic new tools at our disposal, like what's called the new OPV2 vaccine that our foundation helped develop. And that produces fewer mutations and variants. That vaccine was actually rolled out in 2021 during the pandemic, and already more than 1 billion doses have been administered around the world, reducing the risk of new outbreaks by over 80% compared to the previous vaccine. But all the scientific progress in the world would be meaningless without people making sure the vaccines actually are reaching all the kids. The world owes a debt of gratitude to the Rotarians, healthcare workers, and volunteers who've knocked on doors, set up clinics, and traveled across countries to make sure children are protected from this awful disease. The Gates Foundation is thrilled to continue our 2-to-1 giving match with Rotary, up to $50 million a year, tripling the impact of every dollar you raise. We're so grateful that Rotary has taken full advantage of that match during this critical period, and we hope to continue that streak in the years ahead. The role of Rotary goes far beyond fundraising, of course. Rotarians have been leading the charge on this issue since the beginning through advocacy, awareness campaigns, and direct service. We should all be incredibly proud of how far we've come. When polio is eradicated, and I do mean when, not if, it will be one of the biggest advances in public health in human history. The world would have never gotten to this point without Rotarians, and we won't be able to get over the finish line without all your efforts. I'm looking forward to celebrating with you the day we cross it together. So thank you once again for all that you do.
So there's Bill with his message, and I guess a lot of that information you perhaps knew already, but there's probably parts of that in there that you didn't know as well. So for me, it's a situation where I can proudly say that, yes, I am a Rotarian. I am helping eradicate polio. And I think all Rotarians should feel proud about the fact that they've been working on doing that for a long time. Australians leading the way with mass immunisation days in India. That's myself, my wife, and on the right-hand side, and Dallas, who's one of the people that came with us, a polio survivor from Geelong, along with 2 others, Jennifer and Jan. And excuse me. So over the period of some 10 days back in 2018, we went and vaccinated children, which I'm sure is something that my parents would have dearly loved to have been able to do for me. And I dare say for you too, for your parents, they would have loved to have been able to do that as well. But of course, back then, there was no polio vaccine. We took off from Geelong. We went and vaccinated kids. We were there for 10 days. It was quite amazing. I'll let you see some of this. This is a snippet of what happened.
Now he finished the education, then he start the job next month, I think.
Well, that was a great time, a really interesting time. Of course, we got to talk to polio survivors over there and see some of the dire circumstances that they live in, and we got to do, as I say, some vaccinating of children, which was fantastic. So Rotary's role in polio eradication is threefold. It's fundraising, the money aspect you heard from Bill Gates. We're raising awareness, and of course there's advocacy as well. And quite often I talk to Rotarians, Rotary Club groups, and others, even school groups at times, about polio, what it means to be a polio survivor, how it has impacted my life in particular, and it's all part of the advocacy work that's needed to help progress the fight against polio. So far, we've done more than 3 billion children immunised. More than 21 million people have saved from the paralysis of poliomyelitis, as Bill Gates pointed out. 21 million people that today are able to have better lives, able to start a job, run a marathon, or simply carry their child to bed, something I was never able to do. 1.5 million lives saved, 125 endemic countries reduced down to just two countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan. So what's the current status? Well, just last week, we had, unfortunately, another 6 wild poliovirus cases reported, 3 in Afghanistan, 3 in Pakistan. It brings a total of 46 this year, with last year, of course, only 12. So there's been, a problem. Not exactly sure why, but sometimes these things seem to flare. We think we're doing pretty well. Interesting that one polio case in Gaza has been notified with the variant poliovirus. Now, these are, I think, worth mentioning here. People say to me, well, why have you not been able to beat polio in Pakistan and Afghanistan? Well, these are the challenges, as you can see on the screen. Poor infrastructure, misinformation is rampant with, people considering vaccines a Western conspiracy, a distrust of vaccines, in some cases falsely marked children's fingers with that indelible ink that we put on their little pinkies when they've been vaccinated. And, sadly, 15 people killed that were vaccinators trying to just make a better life for people, and 37 injured. And we recently received reports that the Taliban has suspended vaccinations in Afghanistan. So it is a battle, but it's one we'll continue to fight. And the situation in Gaza, obviously that's very topical at the moment. Well, Gaza was polio free for 25 years. But just recently, an unvaccinated 10-month-old baby in July developed acute flaccid paralysis in one leg and was confirmed to have the polio, a variant polio version. And of course, we've got into a situation now where the response has been that there was a ceasefire called between Hamas and the Israeli military. There's going to be another immunization session happening soon. They've done one, and I think there'll be at least 2 more. So 3 phases. They've done one over 12 days in September. There'll be another one starting very, very soon. You'll hear about it, I'm sure, in the news. And then there'll be a third that will follow. And hopefully that will eliminate the variant polio virus from Gaza and the area there. So the fundraising, that lady there on my left is Natalie Cook. Natalie OAMOLY is an Olympic champion, a beach volleyball champion from the Sydney Olympics in 2000. And I had the pleasure of catching up with her for a polio walk, in my case, roll, back in March of this year over in Mount Gambier, where we were doing a fundraiser, which was really great. $50 million needed each year to take full advantage of the Gates Foundation offer, the gift, and that's what Rotary works towards each and every year. So, as you know, World Polio Day is coming up, and well, I just hope that you, if you have a story to tell, if you're a polio survivor, that you will do that, especially on World Polio Day, even if it's just amongst your friends. Jump up and say, guess what? This is my story, and whilst it's similar in many ways to mine, I'm sure it's unique. So, thanks very much for the opportunity to meet with you today, to talk with you today, and I hope that you've got something out of this. And as we say, it's only a matter of time before polio is eradicated from the world. I have absolutely no doubt that one day it will be. And we think that it's not going to be all that too far away from now. So thank you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.